Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho, and I'm actually bringing you a game, or I guess more like a guide, for Duels of the Planeswalkers. I know it's been a while since I've posted one of these. I've actually been away from my computer for about a month and a half or so while I was on winter break, and I've just been uploading videos that I recorded before that, so hopefully you guys will enjoy the new content. But speaking of new content, there is a new deck pack out for Duels of the Planeswalkers, or Magic 2014, as they changed the name to it. And yeah, I mean, this is an okay one. The last one I really enjoyed. I loved playing with that fairy deck, and honestly, that was one of the main reasons why I decided to ever post another Duels video, was because that fairy deck was so much fun to play. But anyway, now that we are here, let's go through this deck. Before I actually go and look at the cards, I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategy that you want to deploy, and its weaknesses and its strengths. So the main goal in this deck is to survive the early game, hopefully put your opponent on the back foot with some of your aggressive creatures, and then pull out some crazy combos that allow you to get so far ahead and finish your opponent or come back in the game. And it also has some pretty powerful singular cards that don't really interact that well. Or, I mean, everything interacts with the deck, but some of them interact better than others. And then finally, I'm going to say that this deck is not that strong. The aggro decks are a lot more aggressive and can do a lot more, a lot faster, and kill you before you can get off the ground. And there's no real removal in this deck. I think I included one Bramble Crush in my build. Perhaps you should be running all three, I'm not really sure. I mean, there are some games that are just won or lost based on some games that are won or lost just based on the enchantments or artifacts that your opponent's playing. There are a couple of decks based on either enchantments or artifacts, so there's definitely a good argument that Bramble Crush should be in every build, but I just don't like it because there are some games where the card just does nothing and it's just rotting in your hand. But if you have one, you can usually find at least one target. Anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it now. As I said, deck hasn't been performing that well. I think it's less to do with how I've built it and more to do with the power level overall. That being said, I think I won about half the games I played, so it's not complete garbage. Anyway, first card, Reese, the Redeemed, 1 mana, 1/1. It's got some good abilities. I actually just put this one in. I think it'll interact really favorably with the rest of the deck, and probably should be an auto include. In a game that goes long, this guy is really powerful. In games that don't go so long, he doesn't do that much. But I mean, just having a creature out that can be pumped by your Fangren Firstborn or Champion of Lambholtz, make it unblockable, is not terrible. And you can usually find somewhere in your curve to toss in 3 mana to make an extra 1/1, so you get some value out of that. And I did find that there's, like, if you can see here, there's definitely a hole in the curve at 3. So I mean, if I ever have a 3-drop to play. Scoop Mob has been around the block. We've seen him a couple of times. It says he's a 1-drop, but all that means is that you just get a discount on your 5-drop because by the time he's ready to do anything, the 1 mana is just going to fit right into your curve pretty nicely. These 3 Young Wolves have been okay for me. When I get the aggressive draws, it's really good. When I just use it as a blocker, it's still okay. And it's never really complete garbage because, I mean, you're basically getting 3 power and 3 toughness for 1 mana, which is pretty good, just not at the right times. I mean, if it were a 1 mana 3/3, it would obviously be very powerful. Anyway, Primordial Hydra is green X. I mean, we've seen this card before. It does a lot of things. It's really a really difficult card to cut from the deck, especially one that's based on counters. So, yeah, Vinelasher Kudzu, one of the best cards in this deck, and I really do like the whole Vinelasher, Kudzu, Strangleroot Geist, Young Wolf package. Like, these cards just are pretty powerful. This guy just grows and grows and grows. And I'm not really sure. I guess it's a plant. So, yeah, this guy's trying to hack at us. But Vinelasher makes it seem like it's the guy who's lashing the vines, but it's obviously a plant. Anyway, very powerful 2-drop. It starts growing, and it doesn't stop. Strangleroot Geist, also a really strong card. Haste Undying, just comes back and becomes very powerful. I do love the card. I threw in 3 of these Dredge Beetles because I noticed that I really needed to shore up my early game, and just playing 2/2s for 2 is not great in this format because duels is very powerful indeed, but the fact that you can get some extra value later is okay. Mostly the fact that it is a 2-2 for 2 is why I'm running it, and sometimes they can contribute to your early game beats, and usually what ends up happening is you just need a certain amount of power and then you just swing out and kill your opponent. So, I mean, Thrive might be an okay card, but what I've found with this deck is it's already has a lot of very situational cards, and this one is another one that's only good when you have a giant board and you're already winning, so that's why I didn't include that, but we'll get to that later. Champion of Lampholt is one of the coolest cards and one of my favorite cards. It is a little disappointing that it didn't see so much play in Standard. It saw a little bit of play, but definitely could have been a lot more considering how strong of a card it is. But it was one of those auto drafts whenever I saw the card I was thrilled and very happy to play with it. But yeah, very strong card. Fangren Firstborn, also a pretty cool card, especially if you can go Fangren Firstborn into Doubling Season and then just thrive all of your creatures 2 turns in a row. Boom, look at me using other cards to describe cards. I don't know. It's really strong. Penumbra Spider. Oh, and the interesting part is, like, when you can draw these, then the deck performs completely differently. It stops needing the 5-drop or higher curve. I mean, I took a look at the deck, how it would look with only creatures 4-drop and lower and maybe a couple of 5-drops, and it just wasn't powerful enough to run. There wasn't enough diversity in the early game, like not enough 3-drops and stuff like that, so couldn't run it that way, but that's okay. Penumbra Spider, 2 green, reach. When it dies, you get a 2/4, and it's also, you're putting a token onto the battlefield, which is pretty relevant for Doubling Season, as we'll see in a second. Thrashing Moss Dog, I really found that I was just getting destroyed by flyers, and all I had in the deck was Penumbra Spiders, 2 of them, in order to, like, not just straight up get unblockable by any flyer, so I needed to shore up that a little bit, as well as just needing to play creatures early. There aren't that many creatures to play at the beginning of the game, and you need to do something to make sure that you don't just get run over. As I said, 1 Bramble Crush, I talked about it at length already. Thragtusk, 5 mana, 5/3, enters the battlefield, gain 5, leaves the battlefield, put a 3/3 beast onto the battlefield. So obviously really strong and very good with the next card, Doubling Season. I only threw in 2 of these. I had been playing 3 for a while, but if you ever draw the second one, it's not completely terrible because you just get like a ton of things. But the problem is drawing 2 of them and surviving to cast another spell that will give you tokens is very difficult, and I decided to run 2. Hopefully I'll draw 1, but not in multiples, and yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's basically interacts with every card in the deck. If you had to describe this deck, it would probably be called the Doubling Season deck, just because almost every card either gives counters or creates tokens, and both of those things get doubled by Doubling Season, so it's pretty awesome. I really like this card. It's a 4/4 flash. Basically, it gives you a 4/4 beast for 5 mana, and then it has flashback, so you can do it again. And it's instant, so you can ambush their guys. Really strong card, I like it a lot. Bestial Menace. You basically put 6 power and 6 toughness on the board for 5 mana. If you have a Doubling Season out, it becomes absurd. It's just one of those finishers that are needed in the deck, and I haven't decided which one's better, that one or Grisly Fate. It's probably Grisly Fate. So yeah, okay, sorry. I usually don't like to screw up in the deck guide, but whatever. I'm gonna take out 1 Bestial Fate and put in, or Bestial Menace and put in 1 Grisly Fate, just because it has the flashback and it has the ability to be stronger anyway. So yeah, I like this card. Jugen, again, I didn't really have much defense against flying, and I mean, its ability is pretty strong. It's nowhere near as good as the other dragons, but this deck is trying to get to a bunch of lands anyway. I actually haven't tried this deck with Namada. I just think it would be pretty good. The ability is nice, that you can just make a bunch of them in a turn, and if you have a Doubling Season out, obviously it's incredible. Fangren Firstborn makes this card really good too. Fangren Firstborn is one of the better cards in this deck. And then a couple of Hornet Queens. There are definitely a lot of includes that I could have done, but as you see, this deck is very crowded. Not only does it want more spells, it also wants more lands. 25 is sort of enough, but not really. So there are definitely some notable non-inclusions. So Essence of the Wild is a really cool card, and it's definitely strong, but for the most part, you don't need it, and it's a 6-drop, so 6 drops, you want to cut as many of them as possible. I was hoping that Essence of the Wild plus Hornet Queen would give me 5 6/6s, but since as it enters the battlefield, it becomes an Essence of the Wild, you just get 1 because it doesn't have the enter the battlefield effect, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, there's a ton of 8 drops in this deck that are all really cool. Like Living Hive does crazy things. Verdant Force is one of the better 8 drops around. Terastodon, obviously. So these cards, you just can't cast them. There's no ramp. There's no control. Your creatures aren't even that good. There's no way that you'd be able to get there with this deck. There are some games that do go into the long game, but even then, you don't always have 8 lands. You could just draw 7 and reasonably not draw your 8th for a very long time. So, yeah, I guess outside of that, the only thing that people are probably going to be angry about is Doubling Season. Sprouting Phytohydra, this could be a card that completely turns around the deck. Like, you just basically get unlimited blockers. And you can do it every turn, and if you have Doubling Season, then they start growing, and it gets very silly from there, but I don't know. Maybe not. Symbiotic Elf. I guess like as a replacement for Thrashing Moss Dog, just as a thing to grow it, I don't know. And then maybe these pump spells are probably cards that you could include. What I found is that you just didn't have enough slots to include all the creatures, all the cool spells, and all the pump spells. So I don't know. Maybe you should be playing with these just to give yourself some amount of flexibility, since the deck is basically very one-dimensional. So anyway, that's the way I built the deck. Not saying that it is the overall best way to run this deck, but I think that this is basically my first build. I haven't really, or it's not my first build. I played like 10, 15 games with it. But yeah, or with versions of this deck. I don't know. I like it. I've always liked green decks. Obviously, it was my first one. Almost everybody's first deck is a green deck. Yeah, I think I'll keep this one. It's a little hard to keep, but I do have lots of cool combos. I have 3 lands. It could be that my opponent is playing an aggro deck and he's just going to run me right over, but yeah, anyway, I did want to give a big shout out to Monomac, just a guy who I ran into. He recognized me, and he helped me play this deck, and he was very kind. He changed decks after every game, which really helped in giving me an idea of how this deck plays against all of the decks, not just one of them. So my opponent's playing zombies, and he's got a black cat out there. Interesting. Normally, if my first 3 draws were all lands, I'd be upset. Or I guess my first 2 draws were lands, and I'd probably be upset. But in this deck, getting to 5 and 6 mana is very important. So I'm pretty happy about it. Shrivel. Wow. That really sucks. Generally, there is oh man, lost Doubling Season. That's all right. Generally, there's very little downside to playing your Primordial Hydra on 3, because 3 and 4 grows them at the same rate. So if you play it on 3, it'll become a 2/2 by turn 4, which is where it would be if you just played it on 4. But having it in range of Shrivel is a very interesting reason. Anyway, I can attack here. His guy's a 2/2, mine's a 4/2, but he gives a counter to himself, so he'll be a 5/3 by the time he comes onto the battlefield. Unfortunately, I could not play Doubling Season because of that black cat. It would have been really great for my curve. I could have just curved right into it, hit him for 6, and then dropped a Namada next turn, ready to just start pumping out 4 Saprolings a turn or something like that. But unfortunately, he got it with the black cat. Then again, I mean, the only card that I would be happy with him to have hit is land, and not even that happy, because then I might not be able to cast my Namada on time. Oh god. He's got himself a 9/9. That's actually not that big of a deal. It has trample, right? Yeah. Still, I'm at 20, so I don't really have to worry about it just yet. Pink flies. But I do have a Penumbra Spider. All right, we're gonna go with this guy, and I'm obviously not gonna attack here, but he's got to throw some creatures down next turn or some removal. Then again, his entire deck is creatures and removal, so that shouldn't be too much of a big deal for him to muster up. Yeah, he's got one blocker here. Okay. And he's gonna attack. Probably makes sense to attack. So, do I send the Penumbra Spider this turn? Probably. If I do, am I just dead? Yeah, I'm actually just dead if I do that, because I'll have one blocker, but this thing will undie. So I'm just going to attack with these two, and then play this guy. And, I mean, this Penumbra Spider can absorb 8 damage over the next 2 turns. Is that going to be enough? 5? Yeah, it'll be actually enough to allow me to live one more turn. Wait, was my opponent just dead? Wow. He was actually just dead if I attacked with that. That's so... Why? I mean, I knew that... for some reason, in my mind, I just saw that if he played the Butcher Ghoul, then... If he had just one blocker, then he would be able to survive. But I didn't do the math. Mutilate. Yeah, well, that's the game. Oh, no, it's not. This guy still survives, and Penumbra Spider comes back, yeah. Alright, well, it looks like I'm going to be able to win it anyway. He only has 4 swamps. But that was really bad. I'm sorry about that. Sure, I gave you guys a scare. If I had lost that game, I don't know if I would have uploaded this video, because that's just embarrassing. And, I mean, before, I should have just done the math. I don't know. That was really silly. So he shouldn't have attacked there, because he was just dead on board, but I screwed up even more. So I guess I'll go find a new opponent and get another game. He didn't really seem too adept. Like, he obviously is not a terrible player. He sort of knew what he was doing, and I mean, I made worse mistakes than he did, or I made just as bad of mistakes as he did, so I don't know, but maybe we'll be able to... I mean, there's always... It's pretty likely that somebody's going to be playing the same deck 2 games in a row, so at least this way I won't run into that, hopefully. Hunting season. Alright, we jumped in a game and got it right away. It's pretty exciting. Okay, so this hand... And with most decks would be an auto mulligan for like 5 lands and 2 random spells, but I think I'm actually going to keep it here. You don't want to run into the games where you don't have enough spells. Is there an elf deck? I can't even remember what this deck is from, what this card is from. But with this deck, and the ability to play Reese early can be really, really powerful. So I think that this hand is a keep, and hopefully I'll draw into the late game, which I already have. I mean, drawing the Primordial Hydra. But I don't remember what deck this card is from. I think that there's an elf deck in this game. I haven't played in a long time. I'm sorry. I can't remember. Ooh, Vinelasher Kudzu. Yes, please. So, I don't know. There's a good chance that my opponent has some sort of pump spell or something like that. The 1 damage is probably not worth losing that guy over. To a pump spell. Yeah, I guess trading this guy for a pump spell wouldn't be the end of the world. I don't really have anything to take advantage of it. Well, it looks like my suspicions have been confirmed. There is an elf deck. Now I remember it. Alright, so do I want to play Primordial Hydra, or... Yeah, I think I want to play Primordial Hydra, because I do have a 3, 4, and 5 drop, so I'm not going to be able to play it anytime soon. So it's much better than trying to fit an elf into my curve right now, which I could do, but just the fact that I have plays for the next many turns means that I don't want to. But this is a really bad situation for me now that I think about it. I'm just going to lose this Primordial Hydra. So, yeah, Timberwatch Elf and Taunting Elf is a pretty good combo. So yeah, I definitely should have just made the 1/1. I could have done that and then not lost my guy. Not lost my Reese or my Primordial Hydra. So that was an ill-advised play, I guess. But this is going to be a really hard game to win. This is what I was talking about, even though I did make mistakes, and it's not completely on my opponent, or it's not completely the fault of like the random chance. There's definitely some play error, but the general fact that my opponent is playing this combo style aggro deck that has a lot of powerful interactions in the early game makes it really hard for me to win this kind of game. It's not impossible, but it is definitely not looking good. I mean, yeah, at least I have jump blockers. I mean, I can throw the 3/3, and he has to use the Timberwatch Elf for that, so he's not like getting damage through. But I am just not thinking that this is going to be an effective game. I mean, Taunting Elf plus Timberwatch or Magistrate without removal is almost impossible to beat. Okay. And he has nothing to play. That's actually pretty good for me. And my Vine Lasher is getting pretty big. We have 3 cards in the graveyard. Oh! I pressed the wrong button. God damn it. I just pressed the wrong button. I meant to press spacebar, but I hit tab. Well, at least I'll be able to take out that Taunting Elf here. Not the end of the world. Oh, yeah, okay, he is going to. Gonna drop this guy right on in here. He's gonna lose the Vine Lasher, but it's definitely a fair price to pay to actually just get rid of the Taunting Elf. Unless he has some spell. I don't think that there are really any spells in that deck. But yeah, he is going to go ahead and take out one of my guys. Alright. So 5 cards in there. But nowhere near getting to 7, so yeah, alright. Let's go ahead and I'm trying to reason this out. It's pretty tough though, because here's what I'm thinking. I have 5 cards in the graveyard, but if I flash one on the back, I'm only going to have 4. And this thing activates when I have 7, and I get a ton of extra dudes. But, additionally, playing this card from my hand gives away more information. If I just play the card from my graveyard, then I'm just giving him the same information that he already had, and still developing my board. Either way puts 4 power on the board. This way puts it separately. So I think I'm going to go with this for now. And, that way, if I do draw a couple more things, I'm not exactly sure how Threshold works and casting a spell. I feel like, let's see, can we get the rules text for flashback? A spell may be cast. The card with flashback is then exiled, so what is he doing? Genesis Wave. It's not very good. Because it could be okay here. Oh, yeah. That was pretty good. Oh, no, it wasn't. He ended up getting a Jiraga Warcaller. Yeah, that was not great there for him. Ooh, Well-Wisher. That's kind of a card that makes it impossible for me to win this game. Huh. And then just the fact that he has 2 counters on this thing means that he can attack with both of them, and there's no way I can kill either. If it was just a 2/2, then I could have blocked both of them, and then the Timberwatch Elf would have only been able to save 1. But this is the silliest part about this whole combo, my combo deck versus his, is that my combo is just not as powerful as his. And regardless of what he does, of what I do, he's still, I don't know why he didn't attack with both. Regardless of what I do, his combo is still going to be more powerful, even though his is built for the early game. Although Genesis Wave is not an early game card. Alright, so now I think I'm just going to play this Drudge Beetle and then flashback Beast Attack in a little bit. So I can't attack, obviously, since he kept his Timberwatch Elf up. And I can't block. I don't know. This is definitely not a great situation for me, and not one that I see ending in a Daisho victory. I don't think that... Maybe my mistake with Reese was actually really bad, because if I had it on this board, it actually could have just been incredible. So I might just throw... this guy under the bus. Then again, I could have just flashed that back and... Let's see, so he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elves. It could be an 8/8. I don't know. I don't want to trade for so much. That's the main issue. Alright, so this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, did I already? No, I didn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm not sure if the card that I'm flashing back, I think it would be on the stack when it resolves. So it would not count. But we'll find out. I know that I could have flashed back the thing. I just wanted to figure out if I get 4 or... No, just 2. Alright, well, I mean, this game's over. There's actually no way I can win. He's got a Well-Wisher, so he's just going to be able to gain a ton of life. And it's just really a matter of time. I guess he could just... It's when it attacks, right? So he could just attack with all his creatures now, but it's probably not going to. They'd all become gigantic. And I'd have to block all but 2 to even survive. I think I actually have to chump block here. Otherwise, I'm just dead next turn. To an all-out attack. Oh yes, Young Wolf off the top. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, did I lose the other one? I think I won the other game. I did win the other game, even though I probably should not have. But this game is getting to be the point where it's probably not even worth playing out. I don't know. It's not like... I mean, it's a little frustrating. Oh, well, actually, that's probably just the game. He should... No, I guess it doesn't matter. It's not that I'm really frustrated. It's just that I know that this game's over. So I'm not going to bother trying to survive another turn, even if I could. It's just not worth your time, my time, or my opponent's time. But anyway, that was an interesting one. I guess I'll play one more game. Hopefully pick up a victory. But, I mean, as you guys can see, this deck kind of can't really beat some of the decks. And even if I had played that game perfectly, I don't think that I was winning. Especially when you see that even, like, I had like 15 power on the board or something like that, and I could just do absolutely nothing about it. There was really no situation that would have allowed me to gain any more board advantage or anything and actually win that game. Doesn't look like this guy's here. Start game, please? Question mark? I don't know, man. Sometimes people just don't feel like playing Magic. Yeah, I guess this is what happens in terms of the misplays when you just jump into playing and commentating when you haven't done so in over a month. Brain's thinking about too many things, can't focus on the gameplay as much as I should be able to. I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just making excuses and I'm just a terrible person and a terrible Magic player. It's always a possibility. Blah, 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 blah. Just gotta keep talking. Alright. Got into a game. I just want to play with the fairy deck. But I know that, yeah, 2 lands on the play I don't think is enough. This is a pretty reasonable hand. Oh, and my opponent's got a big ol' stack of 100 cards. I mean, it's a little bit... okay, so it shifts how the matchup is played, but it still should count for. Oh my god. He's gonna play like a turn 3 Primeval Titan against me with his 100 card deck. So it alters the matchup when your opponent is playing in a 100 card deck, but it also is indicative of the players that you're gonna play against. Not all of them are amazing, so it does show how your deck can take advantage of your opponent's skill level. So obviously, with my opponent running a 100 card deck, I don't think that he's very skilled. But if this deck still can't win, then that just goes to show you how powerful or not powerful it is. So he's going to just drop an Explore, and that's the problem with Exploration. When you don't have a bunch of lands in your deck, then it just does absolutely nothing. He only played 1 land last turn, and he could have played 3. Maybe he just didn't realize, but probably is out of lands in hand. So anyway, we are definitely beating down. But, I mean, it's pretty funny, because cards like Young Wolf and Drudge Beetle, and well, actually Grizzly Fate was probably really good in its set. But these kind of cards are just, like, pretty average limited cards, and the fact that they're being asked to play against, like, decks that can run 4 Champion of the Parish and 4 Path to Exile or 3 Path to Exile or whatever is really awkward. So I'm going to attack with this Young Wolf. I know he can just eat it there, but it makes it a 2/2, so it'll trade with it next turn. Leaving it back as a 1/1 is not really going to accomplish much against this kind of deck. It basically just does nothing. So being able to have it trade or start dealing 2 damage is better than trying to hold out for a situation where I can get some extra value out of it. Ooh, Rampant Growth. Scary. I'm laughing, but he's gonna like drop an Elvish Piper next turn and manage to survive, and then Piper in some crazy Terrastodon or something. So didn't draw land, but got a Strangleroot, guys. This is still one of my favorite cards. When it was spoiled, I was like, oh my god, they just made Magic awesome. This card is the best, and I still love it. So I don't know. If I were playing Standard at the time, I would have tried to find a way to build it in a deck, but I did not have the skill nor the resources to build a Standard deck at that time, I don't think. Alright, so my opponent is just going to take it down to 4, probably the right play, but I'm not exactly sure what can save him at this point from his grisly fate. I don't know. I think the Centaur would win that battle. He's got 2 swords, another sword on his back. He's got a dagger and a shield, and all he has to do is take out 2 little wolves. Like, I'm not so sure that this way is going for the. Wow, All's Dust on the top of the deck. That would have been really scary if I weren't going to kill him next turn. If he's got like a Tangle or something like that, and I will definitely be entering Sadville. Vastwood Hydra. I guess, no, he's actually not going to die. One of my creatures has Undying, and one of them has Make a Little Spider afterwards. So I guess I'm not that worried. But it looks like this game's not over. All's Dust is a pretty good answer to this board. Maybe I shouldn't have attacked with the Strangleroot Geist. This is definitely still a game. I don't know. I think he should have blocked with the Grazing Gladeheart, because he's obviously just going to gain 2. Is it better to? Oh, well, he's just gaining 2 life either way if he has a land. Then again, how does he have a land? Huh. Looks like he's just going to attack me. And I am not going to fall for it. Unfortunately, I did lose the Strangleroot Geist. I think I may have messed up. I probably could have maneuvered it so that I got to keep the Geist. But if I had... I don't know. Can't draw that 5th land, either. Oh well, this game is still going favorably for me. My opponent's down to 3 cards in hand. He's up to 8 lands, but I am very close to killing him. But unfortunately, drawing the low casting cost cards without the lands, or instead of lands, is not great. Okay, there's a Palaka Worm, which means that this is now a real game again. Unfortunately, can't just steal it. Ugh, that card is so giant right now. Okay, well, how many cards we got in our graveyard? 5. Getting close to that. Alright, so let's drop a Thragtusk here, I think. And I probably just want to attack with this so that I can get in for some more damage when it is able to attack. I don't think I want to push through 3 damage just to and lose a creature here, because I can probably do that later as well. Although it could be beneficial, because I can probably replace that creature pretty soon if I can get the extra power out of this thing. Artisan of Kozilek, oh no! Hopefully he chooses Vastwood Hydra as one of them. Oh, he only gets 1, right? Okay. But Oracle of Moldiah was definitely the right choice. Oh, and there's a Primeval Titan on the top of his library. This is not good. Crashing Mossdog, not gonna be the one. Alrighty. Your turn. There's not really much I can do here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Guess I could like chump block or something. Oh my god. This is so scary. He just has an unlimited amount of lands in his deck. And if he's got Eye of Ujin, which, I mean, if you've got 100 cards, you have to, then this could be very bad. Yeah, I mean, and I was hating on my opponent earlier, but, I mean, as I was saying, if this deck can't even beat a deck that has 100 cards in it, then what are we even doing here? I mean, I haven't drawn my combo yet, but that's alright. Okay, so, this is tough. Yeah, I think I just have to sacrifice a couple of lands here, and then throw some creatures at him. Yeah, I think that's correct. Not really sure why he went for the attack there. I mean, he is really far ahead anyway, so just getting the Annihilator triggers off are pretty good. Yeah, I don't really see how I can go back. And he can just Eye of Ujin. Yeah, alright, this game's over. There's no way I can win. Maybe you just need to, I don't know. Like, the thing is, you can't just say that you need to play bigger creatures, because that doesn't work. Because you can just, yeah, I'm actually just going to say good game and then concede, because there's no point in forcing him to play it out. He can just quit right now if he wants. And if he wants to play it out, then he can still play it out against the computer. But anyway, I mean, you can't just add more powerful cards, because the more powerful cards are more expensive, and you just don't get to the late game, except against other decks that are trying to get to the late game, and then they're still going to outpower you. So, I don't know. His deck just doesn't seem powerful enough, and it doesn't have, like, the right pieces, I don't think, to create the kind of deck that they were trying to make. And it's not like a complete failure. It is a cool deck, and it can do fun things. It's just a lot of the other decks can do cooler and more fun things faster and better. So I don't think it's the best deck in the game, but it's probably not the worst either. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this mistake-riddled adventure and misplay-riddled adventure. But have a wonderful day. Bye.